Okay, we'll jump right into it. Obviously, coming off a bye week where we had a lot of productive practice time, recovery time as well. I feel that we have got a lot of things accomplished in terms of fundamentals and technique, schematically, program assessment, recruiting, all the things you want to do in your bye week. I think it was very productive in that sense, and at the same time, got a jump our opponent this week, Washington, 12:30 kickoff, obviously, on Saturday here at Autzen. So, with that being said, ready for questions.
Questions? Right over here, front right, Ryan.
Mario, how much do you think the lessons you guys learned against Stanford and playing in that big game and not being able to hold on could pay off in this game now that you have a similar type opponent coming in?
Well, I think anything, as the season goes on, any type of experience you have is always very useful and applicable as you go forward. We're talking this as an offensive staff. We actually don't. We have really one senior on the offense, and that's two grad transfers actually, in Kano and in Tabari. So, that's something that I think our guys have kept in mind. We certainly don't feel we're the same team that we were a year ago. We certainly don't feel we're the same team we were 3 weeks ago. And with every rep, with every down, with every game that goes by, we feel like we gain a little more ground and make more progress towards what we want to do and what we want to be.
Right here, Austin, front row.
Mario, Oregon coaches have taken different approaches to rivalries through the year. Rich Brooks really played up the Civil War. Chip Kelly kind of had the faceless opponent mentality. How do you approach a rivalry week?
Well, I think when you're playing Pac-12, you're playing conference football every single week as a playoff game. And when you add the fact that it's a rivalry, an extremely intense one, which everyone knows and no one can or should deny, I think that the motivation for that takes care of itself in a positive way. And I think it's a necessary aspect always to address with your players, which we have. So they're excited. They're excited. I know the entire country will be having eyes over here on this game to see exactly what goes down in Autzen. So don't know if that answers your question, but we prepare. We don't ever try to mask or hide or downplay the factors that go into rivalry games. I guess that's the best way I could answer that. So, but it's always going to be like that with the way that we prepare and motivate our players. It's always going to be at the highest level we could possibly do it.
Front left, Matt.
There was a story that you scouted yourself a lot last week. What did you see out of that film, and then what can you take away from that?
Mm-hmm. Well, we certainly feel that we've improved from a discipline standpoint. I mean, that's it's obvious, and it's at the same time there's plenty of room for improvement. I mean, there are moments and there are times and plays and series where we feel that we really could have and didn't take that next step, as an offensive, defense, or a special teams unit. But there is progress in that part. We're certainly happy about. We certainly want to improve our coverage teams over the bye week, which we started off the year very well. This last game, the last couple of reps, especially on kickoff, if I felt like we took our foot off the gas, and our players recognize that. It's been addressed, and we did a much better job during the bye week working off special teams at full speed. Also felt that some of the things that maybe we didn't do as well early in the season, certain pressures to block, certain movements, certain pass patterns to cover, certain times we want to bring or use our pressures and technique at the line of scrimmage, pad level, use of hands, hat position, all that stuff. I don't think there's ever a time where you're not finding little, pieces and places and where you can improve. And it's a really long list, but it's going to be a long checklist every single bye week. But we want to, instead of going overboard and trying to do too many things and getting lost and getting spread out, then we want to focus on 3 things by position group and then 3 things overall as a unit. And I think we feel good about accomplishing those goals.
Right here, second, middle, James.
Mario, they have 2 new play callers this year. As you look at them compared to a year ago, particularly offensively, they're down a bit in rushing, down about a touchdown a game from a year ago. What have you seen? What have you noticed in their change in offense with this play caller?
Well, I mean, they're very similar. They really are. They've got a big, seasoned and physical offensive line. Arguably one of the best backs in the country. A guy that is explosive, has power, hard to tackle. And they have a quarterback that I believe has started every game since he's been there, if I'm not mistaken. But who knows how to run that offense through and through, not only as a guy that can throw the ball. Obviously, he's very accurate, can make the big play, can extend plays with his feet, but he also puts him in the right run game situations and can get to advantage runs. So we don't see any drop-off in them offensively. And defensively, again, it's the same kind of stuff. They're really big and physical up front defensively, but I don't think they get enough credit for is how athletic they are, and they can get very exotic on third down and bring a bunch of different pressures. But on first and second down football, you'll see corner fire, you'll see safeties coming off the edge, you'll see linebacker plugs. So, they have packages and they bring a lot of different things to test you offensively, test your blocking schemes, put pressure on the perimeter game as well. So we see a lot of the same stuff. We don't see much change on either side of the football.
Front left, Matt.
Going into the year, a lot of people thought maybe UW's receivers were unproven. Aaron Fuller seems to have established himself as a pretty good player. How does he stack up against the rest of the guys you've played this year?
Well, he's a great player, and he's explosive. He's a fast guy. They do a great job on those 50-50 balls. He can high point the ball. He can get up there to high point the ball. So he has the ability to do it, and he goes and he has a demeanor to go and do it. So, but even though the word was that their receivers weren't proven, what we found out quickly, and just watching this game last week, is that they can really stretch the field. They get in and out of their breaks extremely well. They catch the ball. They get their hands out there on the ball. They're not body catchers. They're really good football players.
Anything else? Right over here, Ryan on the right.
Mario, did you get a chance Saturday to watch any football games just on your couch or anything? And if you did, what's kind of your take on the Pac-12 and what you saw?
I got to get me a couch first. Well, first thing I saw, it was pretty neat. Our staff was able to get back late Friday night so we could work on our opponent all throughout the morning and in the afternoon. So the first game I saw was my son's flag game. He did a pretty decent job. Got to get his hands inside. Got called for a penalty, but we've addressed that at home. Aside from that, when we did get home, got all those, I don't know, whatever that button is, that record DVR, that technology, whatever. But anyways, I got to see replay all the Pac games, and I got to see a bunch of them. And I think what stands out is the competitive nature of the Pac-12 is incredible. I just think you see it's anybody's conference. I mean, the league is wide open, and you see just monster plays being made in all phases by every opponent at some point in time or the other. So I think that was exciting to see. That gets our players fired up. Again, being part of the conference is an honor, but certainly got to watch a lot of the UCLA Washington game, which when we get here, when it's in our system, it's better film, but got to see a lot of things that we kind of knew and confirmed, some of those things and watching that, and at the same time saw some other things that really stood out. So we feel like we prepared well, and we'll be ready for Saturday.
Front left, Matt.
Last week you said Austin and Breland and a couple other guys were nursing some injuries and you'd give them some rest. How are you feeling health-wise going into this game?
I feel good, and even surprisingly ahead of schedule is Braxton Burmeister. He moved around yesterday pretty well. Excuse me. So we feel good about him potentially being full go as early as tomorrow, which would be great. But Austin is good to go. Jake has been, Breland has been really good. Felix should be back, if not tomorrow, by Wednesday. So we feel good about him as well. CJ's been fine. Don't know if I'm missing anybody else in there, but I think that sums it up. We feel good about our health. With the bye week has helped out. I mean, we banged it up pretty good too, though. We practiced hard. We took some of the physical part of practice away from the guys that have logged a lot of reps, but we also didn't remove that completely. They did get their physical work good on good, making sure that technique and fundamentals were at the forefront of everything, and that we were playing and elevating our level of effort, as it relates to everything that we do. So, but we feel like the bye week, it certainly helped. It came at the right time.
Second row left, Eric.
This is along the same lines, but I think you said you're going to give some of the second and third team guys maybe some more reps. How did you see those guys handle the expanded roles this week in practice?
I think it went great. It's like you wish you had more practice time throughout the course of the day and the year to see that. And that's why we use Fridays like we do. On Fridays, we actually have scrimmages, the guys that are on the third team that aren't part of the travel squad. And a couple guys that are part of the travel squad, but we don't expect to see much action or extensive action. we have those guys actually run 24 live plays so we could keep developing those guys. And you think about it, 24, 12 times a year, that adds to a lot of extra plays, a lot of extra development. So we have seen some really good things show from a couple guys. One thing that stands out, a guy like Stephen Jones, I mean, it really showed that he's improving. A guy that has walked on for us, Justin Collins, is a guy that showed some good burst and some really good ball skills. We expect him to do some things. Samson continues to develop as a really good linebacker. Showed that not only can he contribute on special teams, but he could get downhill as a linebacker and stop the run, and did a really good job in pass coverage as well. So there's a good number of guys, I'd say a half dozen, maybe 8 or so, that showed that they're going to be factors as we go deeper into the season.
Second row, middle, James.
Creating pressure on any quarterback is always a key, Mario, but clearly this season Browning has struggled against a lot of pressure, particularly in that opener against Auburn. I believe also against Utah he did as well. Obviously it's important, so I'd say how key is it, or without giving away, how do you try to create that pressure, or even disguise creating the pressure in order to put him in the spots where he's going to be less successful?
Sure, you want the game plan, don't you? Okay. Well, the first thing, he's pretty good under pressure now, and we've seen that. I've seen him up close and personal a couple years ago, in the college football playoff. But I think what stands out is they're different from a protection standpoint now than they were in game 1. Okay, now you'll see their tight ends do a heck of a job. They're some of the most versatile players on their team. They're good in the run game, they're good in the pass game, and they're also really good as blockers, not only in the run game but in protection. So they'll shore that thing up, and they'll create 7- and 8-man protections to let these guys run down the field and throw up some shots. So the Auburn defensive line is very impressive. As you know, they've got some guys on there that are going to be playing on Sundays, and but even with that, they had their moments, and if not for some red zone issues, that game could have gone the other way. So, but I think with what we do right now defensively, and the caliber of play of their guys up front, they understand the importance of making sure that pocket is uncomfortable. And I think anyone that plays a quarterback like him has to keep that in mind, and has to be a major part of the game plan, because if he's comfortable back there and has a lot of time, well, it makes for a really tough day for the secondary. So certainly a huge factor in our preparation.
Front middle, Austin.
Mario, this series has been pretty lopsided in recent years. The last couple have been in Washington's favor. What kind of sense do you get from fans and just people in the community in terms of what this game means to them, and how important is it to you to make this a competitive series? Well,
it's as important as it gets. I mean, I think it's no secret that Autzen is going to be quite a scene on Saturday, and it's obviously it provides such an advantage for us, when Autzen comes to life like it does on game day. So intensity of a rivalry like this is through the roof. It's off the charts. There's, you could talk about it, write about it, explain it, and it still doesn't capture the true fire, intensity, the true just passion that goes behind something like this. Our players understand it, and our players have seen, and they know the history of the series. They understand how, the best word to put it, let's use the word passionate, how passionate both fan bases are about this thing, and it's critically important for both programs involved. So we understand that. We also understand the importance of making sure that we attack practice and preparation with passion and not emotion, right? Because you have to make sure that at the end of the day, after that first series or so, a lot of that emotional stuff kind of withers away, and then you're playing on your preparation. You're playing with the passion you have for the game and for your teammates, and your desire to do better than your opponent. So those are critical factors that we understand, and those are critical factors that we focus on. So I think a combination of both those things provide the right recipe that you need to be successful on Saturday.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.